This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to beautiful of Juma Private Game Reserve this morning. All we see, looking at these beautiful rise, and this is what actually in Mpumalanga means sunrise. So we're looking at very much on the eastern side of this reserve, and it looks like it's going to be a gorgeous day for us to practice, to look around for the animals this morning to see what we're going to find. I believe we're going to definitely got something for everybody. In the meantime, if you jump aboard to your very own live safari through the African wild. Good morning everybody. Welcome again to Juma Private Game Reserve. Here it looks like we're going to have a beautiful day. As you can see, all the impala, we're looking at the sun, but the impalas also, they are also taking it easy, grazing about. So it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. So my name is Andrew this morning, and then I have BK also on camera. So firstly, we're going to start thinking of checking around Gary Dam. There was actually visual of a lion since yesterday, but it will be good for us to start from there, look around, see how far they have gone, and then we're going to be behind these tracks, I guess, until maybe we'll get lucky finding them. So remember everybody, we'll be coming to you live from a few locations this morning, and we would love really to hear from you if you can send us your questions using a hashtag WildEarth. This is on Twitter. Also, you can use @FC, which is YouTube. And if you are under the age of 18, you can also pop us an email on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv, which is also a simple way. You go to a WildEarth website, head over to the live safari page, and you can submit your question there. We'll answering them for you. It sounds peacefully and quiet morning. So while we searching around for this lion this morning, myself and then Lorraine, she will be on a dam cam, and then also Mike on Phinda will be actually joining, I hope, for a walk. And then Phinda with Wade, which also they may join us to interact with everybody this morning. So I'm going to go down to Gari Dam, see if I can spot these tracks of the lions from last night. Finding tracks, it's a key of finding animal. So let's see what is at the dam. In the meantime, let's quickly have a look at the weather.
A very good morning and a warm welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where we have a spectacular sunrise, should I say, this morning. It is significantly warmer this morning than it was yesterday, which is very much welcomed by the two of us here this morning. We've come out to the northern grasslands of Phinda, and as before, my name is Wade, and very warm welcome from us. Behind the camera today we have Glenn, as always, and we're going to be taking you through these marshlands that we have here. We're hoping to look for perhaps some of those lions that we saw yesterday. On our drive out here, we did manage to see a couple of tracks not too far back. So we're going to be following those this morning, and would be quite nice to see some of the other general game as well, perhaps some of the zebra and wildebeest we often see out here. And even if we had to come across a rhino with this nice still weather, we don't have any wind at the moment. I'm sure it will pick up a bit later. But it is more likely that they would be out and about. Yesterday, with all that wind, a lot of the animals tend to move into the thickets and woodlands for a bit of shelter. But quiet morning like this, if it warms up, it is already quite a bit warmer than it was same time yesterday. We've got a much better chance of seeing things out and about here. We have a comment coming through from Amber on what a stunning sunrise it is. And Amber, you are 100% correct. It always looks better out here in the bush, and especially when you have those vast open plains like we have over here, it sort of just adds to the effect, doesn't it? You can just see those trees in the distance there. But there are a few better places to be. The only better way to see this would be to be here live, but I know for most of you it's not possible at the moment, so this is really the next best thing. And those colors are just magnificent. As we move along here, I think let's start driving up ahead, because we don't have much time to waste. It's time to cover some distance. So far, as we're looking around, not much is out yet, but remember yesterday was really, really windy. We do have some tracks out here in the road of rhino. So during the night, some of those rhino and wildebeest looks like they came across here to one of the nearby watering holes. But for now, while I head out in search of something exciting, why don't we head over to Lauren over at Juma for a warm welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Lauren is on the jam cam. And who says that the jam cam also can't compete with the sunrise competition? Look at that. Took me a while to frame up this sunrise, but it is magnificent. We had a really good view of the sort of Earth's shadow earlier. You get the umbra and the penumbra, as you know, and then that belt of Venus, and then, of course, that ball of gas that is known as the sun popped into the sky. So I'm sitting here with some coffee, I'm not going to lie to you all, and I'm just going to spend time on the damn cam trying to frame up beautiful views and hopefully some animals if I can find them. But if not, please do send in your questions. I welcome them today. We can sit here, we can have discussions and questions, whatever you want to talk about. I had a very lucky drive last night with Shasha and his mother, Sabi. And even June, who was larger than life in personality and in physical size. It was a really, really lucky drive, and it was so much fun to explore Little Gowrie. So today I'm more than happy to let Andrew bumble around, find the leopard that he wants to find, and I can sit here on the dam cam watching this glorious sunrise. It's the reflections that I love. My goodness, question already. You're asking, I'm pretty sure that thing that's moving in the left-hand side of the dam is a hippo. Let's take a closer look, though. There are normally hippos in this dam. There we go. That looks like a hippo to me. Are you loving my camera skills? Yes, there are hippos in the dam, or there is a hippo in the dam, I must say. I can only see one right now, but look at that. Looks like it's immersed in fire. Oh, I'm giving Davy and Beaky a run for their money. Look at this. Wow. Shantae, you're loving the golden glow. Absolutely. And it's far more golden and rich in the reflection, actually, than it is in the sky. Sitting around water bodies, I mean, we don't do it every day, but sometimes when you just stop and sit, be it on the vehicle or on the dam cam. Beaky and I did it the other day, and it's amazing what you can see in the space of 1 hour. Okay, not on the windy days, they're not so pleasant, but just on a normal day, what comes by to drink, what moves by, what flies over ahead, especially in summer. I do miss those summer days. We can see you're still there, hippo. We think we can't see you, but we can. You're making bubbles. See, it doesn't look so magnificent anymore. It's only when you zoom in you get those fiery colors. Andrew got incredibly lucky. I don't think it went live, but Andrew actually got lions on the dam cam last night. Woohoo! Brownie points for Andrew. We don't often see much on the dam cam when we're on duty, but Andrew managed to get the lions, the Talamati Pride. Isn't that stunning? Well, I'm obviously not going anywhere. I'm going to sit here, enjoy my coffee, and watch the dam cam.
And we are back here at andBeyond Phinda, and with this beautiful morning that we've got over here, we found a little lilac-breasted roller sitting right on the edge of a little palm, lala palm, and in this early morning, still just trying to warm up, and we'll only look to get active a little bit later on. But let's just enjoy it for a bit.
So we went to the dam, everybody, and then we saw the tracks. And it looks like there was also a male there, maybe a duck mane, which he was separated from the other pride that was seen yesterday. So maybe he's with another member around here. And the tracks leading kind of a south, which we're checking. We already checked quarantine. And the track hasn't came out this way, but the last track came sort of like southwest, sorry. So we're just not too sure if maybe they're just taking it easy in a thicket lying down. It was actually a long night for them. So, Rick, you're asking, do the lions hunt in the rain? Yes, they do. So, rainy, windy, that's what they prefer, because they have a lot of a chance to move without worried that the prey species maybe hear them. So, chance of rain provide a lot of noises for prey species also. And that's where man-made that happen. Prey species don't like the wind because then they get disturbed. But the cats, they love it, and they would hunt through that rain and the hard wind also. But it's always important when you do that hunt, when it's wind or rain, as long as it's not hail, kind of, that may not get hurt. And they'll always hunt face the rain, wind, so that the prey species, when they skip away from such a rain, they would follow the rain. And this is where they may maybe move into the lines if it's a chance. There's been a few impalas around where we saw these tracks, so I doubt if they're still around there. So we're gonna firstly check some of the roads before we went around in this area driving this bush, because if they happens they're around inside there, then we maybe find them, or impalas, they may already been picked them up and they make such a sound that we know they're around in there. Victor, you asking, is there predators that is actually we found very difficult for us to track? So the predators that we always track around here, lions and a leopard. So leopard, I would say they can be slightly difficult because they're solitary animals. So you track that, you gotta have to see certain tracks at a time. That's what you're gonna stick with. Where the pride may be more than one to about maybe 6 different sets of tracks, that you don't actually waste time the minute you see 2 or one track, you know, all of them may lead in the same direction. But being solitary, such as a leopard, it's very difficult that, you know, hunting sometimes change direction to another. So when you stick with the tracks, you make sure you don't lose that track, because once you lose it, maybe that leopard has turned. Once it has turned, then you lost it completely. So leopard is slightly harder to track compared to the lion. And they're also very sneaky as well, so they're not that big compared to the lions. If you miss them move through the grasses, then you just miss them. I mean, they will probably just kind of lying flat, especially when they do their hunting. They would use cover a lot, and they would use thicket than coming to the open area. Everybody, I'm gonna keep on searching around here. A few roads that I'm gonna go and search. In the meantime, let's go back to Wade in Phinda, who is also on a search for the pride of lion.
And we're back on andBeyond Phinda, and Glenn and myself are taking a nice easy drive through these open grasslands. We've just gone through some woodlands, and oh my, giraffe. Just here on our right hand side, we found a few giraffe. Let me just get into position. Look at that. And that sun that's coming up there over the horizon is giving the most amazing light. Look at that. It looks like quite a young one. The one on his left hand side is even smaller. As you're driving through these open areas, you can find anything around here. Oh. And the birds are going crazy as well. Don't know if you guys can hear, but there's some arrow-marked babblers in the distance. The sticklers are going. Some yellow-throated longclaws as well. Really, really nice morning. And this giraffe looks like he's doing its morning ablutions. And from its size, we can tell not yet a full-grown adult, but narrow horns on the top of the head with a hair on top tells us that it's a female. All of the giraffes I can see here look to be females. The one further right as well. The little one is tough to see from this distance, and the little ones, when they are first born and as youngsters, they tend to have that hair on the top of the horns, both males and females, because it's only when the males start to mature that they start competing for dominance, and it is in that competition that you would see that hair on the top of the horns gets rubbed off, or ossicones as they're properly known. But it's a little bit far away to tell, but the shape of those horns would be different. The males do tend to have much thicker and wider spaced horns. But even though this one's quite young, already feeding on those leaves on that tree. We have a question from Debbie asking how to age a giraffe. Debbie, it's quite a tough thing. From when they're fully grown, really tough to get an exact date on them. But from that, you would just work on their general appearance. Obviously, older animals would be far more grizzled and grayed out, and especially around the face, and scars and marks from over the years. These giraffe, the southern giraffe, tend to darken with age, especially in this region. Although that is a bit of a genetic thing as well. Not all of them will darken. Some are born naturally dark. But in general, if you see a giraffe with a much darker neck, and especially on its back, you would know that giraffe's a bit older. The youngsters, it's a bit of a different story. You can age them up to a couple of years, give or take several months, just from their general height in relation to mom. That little one off by itself on the side, really tough to see because he hasn't once put its head up, and not standing next to an adult giraffe, it makes it a little tough to say for sure. Because this giraffe is the one just to the right has stood up straight and really curved its neck into an S shape, just giving a little stretch in the morning. And further to the right, another one has come walking out of the trees there. They are such cool animals. These are hands down my favorite sort of mammal in the general game. They are so bizarre and yet so cool. And in this early morning, they would have spent the night resting somewhere. Giraffes tend to sleep through the night, or at least in short bursts through the night. There's very few animals that sleep, for long periods. They always have to be on the lookout for prey, for predators. Forgive me. But with a nice early morning like this, they've just gotten active, having their first feeding session of the day. We're going to carry on here and try and see if we can find those lion tracks again.
The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, encourages people to care for the earth. Through innovative projects, they aim to reverse the serious issues that we face in the world today. One of these projects is Green Coast, a proudly South African award for sensitive and well-managed coastal sites. This sustainability project protects our national coastlines while providing unemployed youth with a love for their environment and a hope for the future. WESA is a membership and volunteer-supported organisation. Every supporter is helping to change the only earth we have. Visit our website to see how you can help care for our earth.
For me, the best part about being a guide is being able to live out in Africa's wild places and being able to share that with people. Of all the challenges, for me, the one that I'm probably the most comfortable with is the game drive. I think that's what I do most days, so that would probably be what I feel like I'd do the best at.
It's like someone's put little Lego blocks up there and made this perfect little sort of statue, and there's another one further along as we drive.
One of the challenges I'm the most nervous about would probably be shooting. I think on the day there's always quite a bit of pressure and intimidation, always associated with it, but I guess we'll see how it goes. I hope I'll win this competition, but if I don't, it's still been an experience of a lifetime, and I've learned a lot and met a lot of really, really cool people.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. No, you don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth.
It's a cold day, cold morning, but beautiful. The sun is rising, it's getting brighter, and who knows what's about this morning. Hi everyone, my name's Mike Anderson, behind the camera is Scat, and this is Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy, where we've tried something different this morning. I've never done it anyway. Walked from the western boundary, or close to the western boundary of Pridelands, and we're heading towards Leopard Dam, which is somewhere in that direction towards the sunrise. We're going to go through an area that's called Red Earth, which is a great place to not only find tracks and signs of all sorts of different cool animals, but we know there's been some buffalo around. Maybe, just maybe, we'll bump into some of those. Hopefully not too close. Not like yesterday when we were 20 meters away from a buffalo bull, which was quite scary. But then we also saw this thing as we arrived here, and I just thought it's actually quite strange. This is an old leadwood stump, and now leadwoods, as you know, are some of the very hardest woods in nature, and yet this one seems to be crumbling and falling apart, which I couldn't understand why. I look up there and I can see some scorch marks, so maybe it was burnt at some stage. I don't know if I'll move my head out the way, maybe you'll see it a bit better. But it also might have been fungus or a lot of different other things. It couldn't have been termites, it couldn't have been insects or birds or mammals that did this. So it must be fire, I suppose, but it's quite interesting. This must be an incredibly, incredibly old leadwood stump. These trees, once they grow large, can be hundreds of years old. Maybe 300, 400, 500 years old, maybe. But once they die, they can still stay there for hundreds of years again, in the right conditions, especially if it's nice and dry, not too wet, and they can remain standing. Got nice wide roots, allowing them to stay stable. It's cool, the patterns are incredible. I wonder how many animals have called this home throughout this leadwood's life. There's always that saying, if trees could talk, what stories would they tell? I'm sure this tree would have a multitude of interesting stories. How many leopards might have climbed into this tree, stashed their carcasses or even their youngsters? How many birds nested in it? I'm getting very philosophical this morning. Well, I can see a few webs and things. There's a few spider webs all over this tree. It's not easy to spot them. Just see it up there, using one of these cavities. Safari Cliffy, maybe it could have been a lightning strike. I mean, actually hadn't considered that one. We have seen a number of trees here on Pridelands that have been struck by lightning. Unfortunately, the best example that I found was just in an area where the signal was just too poor to show you, but it really had really clear signs. It was a moola tree. It had a clear sign of this scorch mark that really went like a lightning bolt down through the middle of the tree. And then half the tree was splintered, so it was definitely lightning. So it could have been, I suppose. I've never heard of lightning destroying a leadwood like this, but yeah, that's an interesting concept. It certainly happens. It certainly happens, and leadwoods typically tend to be some of the tallest trees on Pridelands because of the fact they grow so slow and so large. I mean, this was definitely fire. If you look here, you can see this slightly darkened patch over here with a nice smooth burn. So yeah, I mean, maybe a lightning strike, then caught fire and slowly burnt away at it. I don't know if this was ever an extremely large leadwood, though, to be fair. It seems like it doesn't have a thick trunk going up. The trunk sort of splits over here and goes into some smaller branches. But in any case, it's an awesome tree and a good place to start our morning walk. So from here, we're going to walk probably down into that drainage line there. There's a little bit of a pathway that goes down. And we'll be very slow and careful. This is a place where we've seen many leopard tracks, and lions often come here. And of course, buffaloes would maybe be resting down in the drainage line if it was windy, which it isn't today. It's very cold, so most animals will probably be on the crests, avoiding that cold temperature in the valleys. While we decide where we're going to go, into the drainage line or along the crest, we'll send you over to Andrew, who's still on the hunt.
So we also still on the look for the lions, yes. And then there's no tracks coming out anywhere. So we go back to where we saw the tracks cutting into the little block. Even though so many impala around, but we're gonna find out what happened there. Maybe they're just lying flat. If it's a duck man, maybe with the female, or then maybe they're just flat, not doing much. That's why maybe impala's not bothering shouting about at them. Or maybe they have changed direction, because during that movement they can do that. They can move slightly, come west, and then back into the east there again. The impala, they're so chill, they're so relaxed. And then was also male leopard track that we come across coming to the area. We would think maybe it's a shasha, because it was left not far from this area. So it happens maybe he's around. So we'll find out during this search. We may bump on him or bump on the lines itself. So Barry, you're commenting saying duckman, it would be great to be seen this morning. That's also my really wish, to actually see him. Because I haven't actually, last time we saw them, this is when they disappeared into Manyeleti. And then since then, he hasn't been found until he came back last night. So it's really very good to see. So I'm gonna be driving these bushes around here. In the meantime, let's go back to Phinda with Wade.
And just like Andrew is out looking for lions, so are we here on andBeyond Phinda. We've been moving around the area where that pride had been seen last night, and we went past the carcass that was over there, and it was stripped bare. There was almost nothing left. So we're now looping around trying to find tracks of the rest of the pride, those females and the one male. Tracks of the one male had gone well into the woodlands, so we're trying to stick to the open area and find signs of the others. As we're driving along here, there's a lot of tracks of buffalo in the road. You might even see those sort of darker patches of the dung as they're going along. And we're just coming along to a waterhole over here, and there's a lot of birds flying around. Let's see what's happening here quickly as we get here. Really scenic spot. So there's definitely worse places to be. I can already hear the ducks whistling. Park here, and let's have a quick look. Just over here on our left-hand side, we've got some white-faced whistling ducks. And what looks like a great egret off to the left of that, just at the edges of the reeds. And yeah, we look like we have some teals over there as well, just to the left of the whistling ducks. They have the most interesting calls. And further to the right, we've got a Burchell's cuckoo just sitting in a tree. Oh, and if we go just to the left of those ducks and the teals, there are two little birds swimming along there. And those are little grebes. Look how tiny those are. Oh, gone under. Busy searching for breakfast. This is a very good waterhole to search around and spend time here. It's quite well located between the sort of marshy bit and the open grassland, and the woodlands are just on the one side behind us. So a lot of animals will come through here at all times of morning, afternoon. The banks all around are churned up from different animals. Just on this bank closest to us, lots of marks of where the elephants and rhinos have been drinking in the last couple of days. But as we get through the morning, we are going to carry on, and I'm sure we'll be back with you guys shortly.
Continuing on our eastward journey, we're crossing through an area called Red Earth, which is an old cattle grazing part of the reserve, I think, from the old farming days. And I was just looking at little tracks and signs and things and came across this. This is a leftover shells, or shell, from a giant land snail. And it's been bleached by the sun. Normally it's more of a brownish color, but with the sun's power, it's bleached the color out of it. And this is important for many animals, including birds. They eat these bits of shell, and it helps to give them the calcium they need to make strong eggshells. Animals like tortoises might crunch on this, even impalas might eat this for the extra calcium, the minerals that might be in it, which is really important. And there's lots of great stuff here. If you're knowledgeable about geology, or even the history of human habitation, you could probably find lots of interesting stuff here, from cool rocks like this one over here, which I don't know, this looks like a piece of quartzite maybe, but it's very clear. A nice piece of quartzite over there. You might find old stone tools from the Stone Age humans living in this area. It's really phenomenal. The cultural history in southern Africa is rich and varied, and you can find artifacts in the most unlikely of places. It's just a matter of knowing what to look for. As we walk through here, we're actually hoping to find something large, maybe lying down in the sun in this kind of a valley here. It's a very cold night, a very cold morning. Be the perfect place for a large animal like a buffalo, or even a hippo. A hippo might even rest out in the open like this. We're not so far from Leopard Dam. I don't know when last there was a hippo there, but could always hope. Not to see one closely, but to see one at all would be great, especially out of water. We're going to continue and see what else we can find.
And we are back here at andBeyond Phinda, as we were about to leave this waterhole, we found a little kingfisher having his morning hunt over here. And as luck would have it, the moment we come back on air, he flies off into the grasses over there. So we're just going to have another look around here. I'm sure he'll come back out. He had just caught a little fish right about 30 seconds ago. No sign of him at the moment. He may come back just now. Kingfishers are quite habitual. We have a question coming from Sam this morning asking if I consider myself a birder. Sam, yes I do. It's always something you say carefully because you get different degrees of birding, and while I'm not a seriously advanced birder who travels solely for the reason of ticking them off a list, it is something I truly enjoy, and I've been very fortunate over the last few years on Phinda to get to see a lot of our birding species here, because with all these diverse habitats we have such an amazing bird life here. So while I am fairly confident and happy birding here, in other regions it's a lot tougher because I'm not as familiar with those species that are found there. But I'm fairly happy here, and it's something I truly enjoy. It's really a nice thing because even on days when there is no sign of the bigger animals, you will always see birds somewhere, and with the amazing diversity between them and the sheer number of them and the different colors and variations, they really are amazing creatures. So yeah, it's something that I never get tired of doing. I'm always happy to see. Now, while we're sitting here, for those of you that joined yesterday, all right, so we will continue just now, but we will head along. Something disturbed those ones over there. We are going to move along over here and carry on in our search. Why don't we head over to Juma and see what Andrew has found?
Thanks, Wade. So since we were on a search in a little wood here, which is nothing really that we find, but we got some mongoose about to get out forage along with impalas. It's just a beautiful sound coming from the background, where there are crested francolins, these guys are only forage during the day, go search for pretty much insect. When they move out of the mound, that is all about feeding, but for now they're going to just make sure that they get warmer enough before they move far from there. Okay, commenting saying this is a cute little mongoose. They are cute. I mean, they are actually one of the animals that you don't go wrong looking at them. they always entertain, they always do something, groom one another, check out things around for safety. So they're always mobile and pretty active animals. So grooming one another, it's always so important. Though they have actually oiled their skin, it's full of glands, but also they would have anal gland where they would scent mark using those, attached to grasses, to wood, small twigs as they move. Since they're so small, they seem to be operate with birds for safety. But that one that is sitting right in the end or top of this mound, it's always looking out for an emergency, while the others on forage in these grasses, because they cannot all look Kellyanne, so you're saying you think they have so much personality. The mongoose, they're actually one of these animals that they care one another most, and they build such a greater relationship with various other birds. Such as the hornbill, and that one is had to move off. So it looks like they're just following where the impala is going. So they don't actually mind having other animal around them, as long as it's not a dangerous animals. They would love to operate with them. But this impala, the reason I stopped here, because I just want to understand, I wanted to understand exactly what had happened, what it was going on, since last night. But I don't show any of threats or running around, worrying so much, or looking around. So maybe the lions already have moved out of this area. And this is actually one of the male that is also dominating the females. They already have moved on the far left. And he's caught most of these impalas skiing in the morning. They're more likely to be that flat, like fluffy much, because of the temperature's still down, and they have to all provide warmer when they're fluffing their hair. So it looks like he's gonna go join his high rim. So I'm gonna now change my plane, search further away from here. Maybe we will come across more of these lion tracks we're searching for.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
The scribe here collected a dry grass, put it next to the waterhole as the hippo walks down during the warm of the day to drink the water. When the hippo arrives, he saw quite a very nice grass, an area not to resist to rest. And when the hippo went down to drink the water, and when he finished the water, he just lied down on the grass. And then, that was the opportunity of the scribe. You know what? Today is my day to pay the revenge.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Delivering 6 hours of HD wildlife content live every day is no small feat. It's a massive team effort, and we all rely on one another. Cam ops have a bit of work to do in the morning. Up nice and early, get all the checks out of the way, and make sure we're ready to go live. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun.
Sadly, not much is going on around Gowrie Dam, but I do keep scanning. It will become active once the sun gets a little bit higher and the birds start moving, but for now, it's very quiet. I was actually just doing research. I found out the other day from Scat that they're possibly changing the name Battalier to the short-tailed eagle, which saddens me greatly. I will be very stubborn and refuse to use that name. I think it's possibly been in place for quite some time, but I don't think it's taken off very well. And they are changing Latin names and they are changing common names. Because, of course, the more we learn, the more we dive into gene pools, genetics, relations, taxonomy, things change. And I mean, look at the acacia example. There was a really sort of controversial, if you like, botanical name change. I'm sure this happened in the early 2000s, and it really affected African biologists because research showed that different groups of the genus Acacia for the trees, which of course includes most of the African thorn trees, if you like, and Australian wattles, as well as some various different plants from the Americas, did not descend from the same common ancestor. Trouble. So therefore, it meant that the genus had to be split into several genera. And Australian botanists actually were quite upset about this, and they campaigned to retain the word acacia because they have more than, I think, 900, give or take, Australian species compared to the much fewer acacia species in Africa. So I think it was around 2005 the name change actually took place. It was official at the International Botanical Congress, where they decided that acacia would be reserved for those tree species in Australia, and the African species would have to change, and they were divided into two genera, Vachellia and Senegalia. And if you do look that up in any sort of modern book, you will see those new names. But to be honest, A lot of botanists, including myself in Africa, did disagree, and they do continue to use acacia, and I'm definitely guilty for that. I do still say acacias. It's in all the literature, unless you sort of buy modern literature. But it's fascinating when they change the names. And the thought of even calling a batelier short-tailed eagle just upsets me greatly. I will not do it. Batelier is just far too fabulous. It's a wonderful word with lots of meaning behind it. Most Latin names mean something. They're not random. Yes, they are Latin, but generally speaking, they have a meaning behind it. For most organisms. I mean, even the hawksbill turtle, imbricata, that's the second part of the Latin name, and that basically means the woven nature of the scutes on the shell. The way that they're sort of intertwined is different from other turtles, and imbricata refers to that. But name changes are happening all the time in terms of botany, plants, animals. I didn't get time. Batelier, I know, that's what I'm saying. It's such a beautiful name, Batelier. It's absolutely just magical for such a magical bird. I mean, I've really, really got to sort of fall in love with the bateliers, and just the mere thought of calling them short-haired eagles. You start to dive into Latin names, it actually becomes really, really fascinating. You should Google some Latin names and find out the real meaning and why they were called that. Okay, I'm going to keep scratching around Gary Dam, and I have completely forgotten who I'm sending you to, but I'm sending you to someone.
A very quiet watering hole, very still, the water. Got a goose, a number of other small birds that are starting to come down to the water's edge just as it warms up, but otherwise not much action happening here. Perhaps still too early. Too early for anything large to be at the waterhole just yet. Don't see any of the goslings, though. Where are all the baby gooses? Oh, Gert, there's some firefinches just over here. Ah, they're disappearing now. Never mind. It's a little group of beautiful little red birds coming down to drink, but they're very skittish. So I wonder where these geese have stashed their goslings. Somewhere near the water's edge, maybe amongst some grasses or branches. Just keeping them safe for the moment. Let me not be lazy and let me use my binoculars and scan. The goose looks a bit cold. Oh, I see one gosling on the bank on the opposite side. I think it's that one that's... Do you see it there, Gert? I think that's the one that likes to do his own thing. Well, confidence is key to survival in the bush, I think. Or is it rather maybe cautiousness? Oh, but I see another bird. There's a green-backed heron sitting so beautifully on a log. I think from your side, Gert, you might not see it, but the more you start to look around, the more you start to notice that there are lots of animals and birds. And if you see there's a little stick sticking out the water. There's a green-backed heron sitting on it. Right on the opposite bank. think it's a young greenback heron, which is actually now called a striated heron. I know Lauren was just talking about the batelier, the new name that might be applied soon, the short-tailed eagle, which is a descriptive of its appearance, but not of its behavior. We've been using batelier for so long, it will be quite difficult for us to change, I think, but change is as good as a holiday, so the saying goes. I don't know if it really applies to that. But that greenbacked heron or that striated heron, just preening itself, keeping its feathers nice and clean and well ordered so that it can fly, and so that if it does walk or jump into the water or even swim, its feathers will remain nice and waterproof. What they do is they apply a special oil called preen gland oil, which is located just between the wings, just above the rump, above the tail. They push that through their feathers to keep them nice and shiny. A very large portion of a bird's day is actually set aside for preening. Oh, there's a squirrel that's starting to freak out behind us. I wonder what's got its attention. I'm not sure if you can hear that. Oh, seems to have calmed down. Just having a morning tantrum. All is quiet here at Leopard Dam. What is that heron doing now? It seems to be stretching itself up and up. We might have lost comms, unfortunately. I'm not sure if we're still live, but I hope you're enjoying it. It's peaceful. Well, I'm going to keep watching this quiet scene, seeing what else might turn up. In the meantime, we'll send you over to Andrew.
So we're still on a lookout for the pride of lions. Everywhere it's full of impalas, which is, I believe, these lions are not maybe around here. So last trek we went to look where we first saw the first tracks. It looks like we have walked into the river or drainage line. So maybe we're gonna go around, see if maybe we'll pick up this more of the tracks on the other side of the drainage line. The weather actually favored them last night because it was a little wind and they may have maybe done a lot of movement hunting around. All they're gonna hunt, eats all the antelopes, impalas, wildebeest. There hasn't been much of the herd of buffalo came into an area close by. So it means that they're gonna hunt a lot of these impalas, but even they kill one impala for such a pride, then they would need it more and more. Because one impala cannot feed everybody. Kalamati is actually quite a number of animals there. The more they stick around within the same area, is the more it's quite a lot of the activity of the prey species that they may want to hunt. So we're gonna check more again, maybe the boundary, see if maybe we don't spend time here. Meanwhile, they have crossed to the north there.
We're still searching around the water body. It's beautiful. There's not really much to see right now. So we're just going to slowly scan from the east to the west of the water body. You never know what we might see walking by or flying down or popping out. And just enjoy these few moments to listen to all the sounds around the water body. You can see the wind is actually moving the water from the west to the east in an easterly direction. This is a stagnant water body. No currents, no tides. So this movement is coming solely from the wind. So it must be quite windy out there, but I'm going to keep searching around and see what I can find.
So we're gonna check the northern boundary just to see if maybe they didn't cross, otherwise we would be wasting so much of time driving places where they have already moved off. So if they move north, that would be then Pebbleshoek. This is where they will probably have moved in. If they didn't cross there, it means that they're probably in one of these rivers. So, Michael, you're asking what are the survival of lion cubs in Juma. So, we've seen a lot of time they actually made it through their lives. The only problem is that if they has any disease that may interfere them very young, or maybe they're not taken care of. Now the male that actually dominate an area and no longer coming into or cooperating with the bride, and that can lead them to death because of the competition of maybe another male come into the area. But yeah, we didn't actually have much of a disease that affect cubs, which there are some disease that may sometimes affect cubs, young lion cubs, even leopard cubs, so young. That yes could cause severe, big damage to the bride. So that's survival. Other males, which is the father of these cubs, not wanting to dominate the bride, and that maybe another male would maybe come into the area, find them still very young, would kill them, take over the bride. So that's what makes sometimes lions not really sustained in terms of breeding and also well developed in the bride. Sure, I gotta do this because wind is blowing right on my face. So, Jack, you wanting to know how an average lion can travel in one night. So that depends on what kind of movement they are on about. So if it's they are hunting, they can carry on. Maybe they may sometimes delayed, and they roughly can cover 8 to probably 12 kilometers sometimes. But now the territorial, which may a lot of time done by males, or maybe they may sense something may die miles away, that may make them maybe reach 16 k's a night that way. But average 7-8 k's a night if they just gonna take it easy around. check one of the dam, which is a Tambote Dam, and if maybe they went that way, probably they've been near around there. It happens maybe they may want to have a look if they're gonna hunt around that watering hole, which at night I doubt they won't do much of the waterhole hunt, since there's not much of the animals may be interested for drinks at night. So here, everybody, I'm gonna send you across to Phinda with Wade on the search also.
Morning from a wonderfully clear and sunny Phinda. We are still out on search for those lions. They've covered a fair amount of distance during the night, which is quite an interesting thing. You know, considering they had a bit of food last night, and they were really close to a waterhole. You know, it's always more likely that they'll stay in the area, but so far haven't been lucky with that. But we have had some really cool sights, you know, of this beautiful scenery. Not only that, some of the bird life. Had a few raptors just now. Just saw a black-winged kite a couple minutes ago, but we were having some signal issues. Now, as we driving along here, I don't know, for those of you who had been with us yesterday afternoon out on drive, we relatively close to the area where we had seen those buffalo. And actually, while we're here, just under this beautiful waterbury tree, why don't we have a quick stop here? While we were with those buffalo, we happened to see a little creature, and it was a little moth that flew down onto the seat next to me while we were having our nice view over there. Now, yesterday afternoon, when I had seen it, I wasn't sure exactly what it was, so I went and did some homework and looked it up. And for those of you that saw it, it was like a really beautiful red and sort of cream yellow and white moth with black dots on it. And this is the one over here that we saw, called a tricolored tiger, which is a really, really cool one to see. Quite widespread through southern Africa, mostly sort of far north and then along the coast all the way down. You can see the distribution over here. So in South Africa itself, more just on the north coast, so we would be right here. If I click in the pen, we can see a little bit better. Just on the corner there between Mozambique and Swaziland. And along the coastline you can look to find them. But a really, really beautiful little creature over there. And it just plays into the diversity of the area as well. With us being in an area with so many different habitats, we really can look to find so many different creatures. And even though you spend a lot of time out here, I mean, we're out every day, most of the day, I've been here now for 3 years. I promise you, almost every day I'm learning something new, seeing something that I haven't seen before, because it is just an incredibly diverse area. Phinda itself alone, with all these different habitats and terrains, we just have so much going on here. There's constantly new species being discovered. Just a couple of years ago, they discovered a new species of spider out in the sand forest, and it is now known as the Phinda button spider, closely related to the black button spider. But you know, it just goes to show that there's just something new. If you look around, you'll always see something different. Let's continue. I just wanted to touch back on that, let you know that I hadn't forgotten, and hopefully you guys learned about it just like I have. And we're going to head down this way, and we may cross. We've done a pretty thorough search of these open grasslands over here. We may cross through into the woodlands a little bit. There's some tracks here of the buffalo. May very well have been the same herd that we saw last night. Seems that they crossed out this side. This open grassland with these little yellow flowers of the curry bush. And we're going to carry on here and look for the next thing of interest.
It's day one of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition, and our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
Either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Nestled in this grass as we walked down the road, we found indications that there have been lions around here at some point. It's not very fresh, unfortunately. Kind of wish that it was, then we might have the chance to see this. Well, I mean, it could still be around, but this particular pile of scat is not fresh. And I say it's a lion simply because it's very massive. It's a huge pile, and inside is lots of fur, and it's turning kind of white, and that is because it has lots and lots of bone fragments in it. If I just pull this out there, there is a fragment of a bone. Now, lions, people often, associate eating of bones with hyenas, but lions have almost equally powerful jaws, not quite as powerful, but very powerful nonetheless. So they're able to crunch the small bones of most small mammals. If this lion had caught and eaten an impala, which it might well have because this looks like very pale fur, like something from an impala's belly, it could easily have crunched all the small rib bones, even some of the leg bones of an impala, without too much hassle, to be honest. Inside the bone, this bone is hollow. I don't know if you can see that. It's rounded on one end and then concave on the other. That's because inside here would have been full of marrow. And marrow is very, very highly concentrated nutrients, So quite sought after. That's why hyenas are able to survive on bones almost exclusively in some areas, because of that marrow that's high in nutrients. And I mean, a hyena can sometimes make a pile that's almost as big, but with hyenas, it's very blocky. It's very much like little golf balls that have been squashed together. That's what it looks like. Whereas this is more like elongated, like a furry sausage. Look at that. It's nice to see that lions have been around. It's possibly one of those 2 male lions that was eating on a giraffe not so long ago. Izzy, if you know what you're looking for, you can get a rough indication, and certainly with an analysis, if you took this to a lab, about 100% they could get the DNA and know exactly what animal this was eating. They might even be able to tell the diet of this lion over the last few days or weeks, not just this meal, but like what else it's been eating through some of the fragments. Their fur is a good indicator, and the size of the bone fragments sometimes can also indicate, but I mean, I can't tell you with 100% certainty, but just the fur is kind of like a mixture of white and then pale brown. I suppose it could also have been something like a steenbok. They've also got white belly fur, and I mean, a lion would be able to crunch basically all the bones on a steenbok. Nothing would be left behind. So Izzy, yeah, with a fair degree of certainty, you can say roughly what it was eating. Yeah, it's very interesting. People always think, male lions only eat when they with the lionesses, but it's not true at all. You think about a male lion on his patrol. If he catches something small like a duiker, that whole thing gets consumed, with basically leaving no evidence, and so we'd never really know that the lion ate a duiker or a steenbok. They certainly can hunt it very effectively, especially if there's more than one male lion. They end up hunting very similarly to the lionesses. Not quite as agile. Ooh, I stood up far too quickly there. Bit of a head rush. Let me just let my vision clear. Now we can continue walking. Right, well, we just showed you some evidence of lions. Not fresh evidence, but some evidence nonetheless. I'll send you over to Andrew, who's also still looking for his lions.
So everybody, still looking for the lions. Not luck yet. Gonna now hear grey heron searching around for fishes. So these lions have been all over their tracks here. Some tracks has crossed into Beldisuk, where we wanted to check. We checked that some tracks showing that they have crossed into Beldisuk, but only not all of them look like it. So we're gonna check this area. Maybe this is a way of them hunt. Maybe they're near the boundary. We found out. A grey heron on hunting for a possible fish. These are frogs. And I can do this also at night. As long as there is no such crocodiles, because crocodile can hunt, Egyptian geese can hunt storks that may camp close to the water. Heather, you're saying with a very skinny leg, it's amazing that it can support the whole body weight. You're very right, with these very long legs, and many times it's just like a crane also. Their problem they have, it's when these legs ever break off, or it's very harder to repair again, because they're very long legs and they're only designed for these legs, because they have to do what this bird is doing there. Got into water, and they can actually go slightly further deep enough. And this is how they hunt. Most of the water birds, they would have very thin legs. And these legs are hardly to get cold. And that's why that bird will still manage to move around in the water where the water is cold. When they come out of the water, if it's still in the morning, then of course they should still feel colder, but they're still okay with these very thin legs. There's not much flesh in there. It's not actually flesh at all. So this is a dam that I wanted to check, but we were not wrong. The lions have come to the area around here, and then they may maybe move around about, for them to be able to hunt. Oops, we are about to experience the kill there, but missed it. So for them hunting situation, that's where they cannot actually go directly right away. They would do a lot of a zigzag around, a drive by the prey species. Just so peaceful around Waterhole. I know it's not actually yet very hot, but this is the time where birds, a lot of different birds, may begin arriving to take a drink. So everybody, I'm going to continue. I never know, maybe we'll get luck with the bride, maybe still hunting around here. In the meantime, let's go across to Wade in Phinda.
Good morning from us here at andBeyond Phinda, and as we've been searching through the woodlands, come across a tree. Now, this is actually quite a common tree here in these woodlands, in particular in the north of Phinda, what we call this. And it's one of the most commonly fed on trees in the region. You can see those big round green fruits hanging from there. This is called the monkey orange, and these ones in particular, these shiny green ones. If we shift a little to the left over here, there's another tree just over here, and you'll notice that this tree looks a little different. Similar green fruits hanging from it, but these ones look a little different. They're a bit duller in color, a sort of dull green. The tree itself as well, those leaves would have that like much bigger and a darker green leaf with this velvety texture. This is the black monkey orange. Now, really, really cool trees because they are producing these fruits. Now, both of them, when they're ripe, they're edible. That black monkey orange, though, would turn orange, and those fruits will fall off the tree. I have just looked around here, and at this tree over here, this green wall that are, roughly ready. Now, this is a really cool time of year for us because the fruits year, August, and this is one of the most important food sources for a lot of the animals in the region. And this time of year, the elephant herds, from the Ngala to Giraffe, and incredibly delicious. And I thought it might be cool to actually just show you and try and open one actually. Now, it's important to note that the monkey oranges fall under what we call the strychnos family, which means that when they are not ripe, they are actually inedible. They're actually quite toxic. They contain a poison called strychnine, which is really, really bad for you. So you don't want to try and eat these guys. But now, have a look at this one. This one was actually pulled off of this tree. Then an elephant. We have tracks just over here of an elephant bull. Looks like from last night, walking through here. And he pulled this one off the tree. And if you notice the monkey orange, so let me just move back to the front here, still has the stem on the top. Now, when they ripen, the green monkey orange doesn't really change color. It just falls off the tree. It lightens up a little bit. But with this, if I had to, not really smelling much. Look at these ones in comparison. This one has fallen off, lightened up a little bit, and this one as well, although this one has quite a few markings on it. You can actually quite clearly see some scrape marks over there. This one would have fallen off and has already been chewed on by something. And they have been fed on by something like perhaps, would have been trying to nibble to get it back through this thick shell. We will be back shortly, and I think it might be nice to try and open up this fruit and see and how.
So we've just crossing a little drainage line now. We thought we'll just basically just walk. And you can just experience what it's like to walk. I wasn't going to say anything, but there's a couple of really awesome birds hopping around in this leadwood tree. And these little black and white birds with an orange circle on their eye, these are Rhett's helmet shrikes. And they are beautiful. I think they're so very agile the way they fly. It's like butterflies. It's a family. There'll be an alpha pair with an... Oh, see that one there? That one there waving its wings like that? That is a juvenile. And it is trying to get the parent to feed it. When it shakes its wings like that, it's begging for food.
So we're still checking around. Now we're gonna leave this boundary and then maybe come back to Juma. This is where we probably search, because only a few tracks that I have crossed to the north. I doubt if all of them have done that, especially with the duck mane. So I don't see tracks there. So only the females a lot that I have crossed to the north. Maybe still within Juma. Maybe they're on a keel, you never know. So that's what I really need to find them. Because they have been actually very much active last night. So you find maybe they have maybe successful killed something, but we're not sure where and what they have killed. This is all about, when you want to search for a cat, all you trust is that maybe when you track them in the morning, because they have a lot of axes at night to move through, hunt, maybe may have their kill done, or they're still sitting on their kill. And that's different when you got to search for them in the afternoon. The chance of them kill is very small, but they can still kill during the day also. Also, they update about, I mentioned the young male leopard that the track was seen around Quarantine, that area. The guys have followed it also cross into Bevelishoek and they can't find it there. And I also mentioned that also a female within the area. It looks like they were moving together. So not sure who that female that would be. But with the leopard, I wouldn't really blame them if it's been so much of activities of lines, and they may not stick around so much lot. So I'm gonna continue search around here. In the meantime, let's go across to Wade in Phinda.
Welcome back, everybody. Apologies, we did have some signal issues where we were just now, so we've just pushed back towards a slightly more open area. And I've been talking about these little monkey oranges, and this is quite a small one, but it does smell ripe. Now, they are, like I said, very delicious when they're ripe. You have both the black and green. We have a comment from Oliver saying that's like an unripe avocado. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. The only difference I would say is these ones are a little bit more round, but the shell, these are incredibly hard. And this hard shell makes it really tough for a lot of the animals to feed on it. It's really, really a tasty thing though once they're ripe. And like I said, everything will feed on these. From elephants, you'll just see them throwing it straight into their mouth and with one bite just cracking through it. Often sounds almost like a gunshot. It's a loud as they crack through it. A lot of the smaller animals, won't be able to crack through it. For example, the Ngala or even the little red duikers, but they can still feed on it. So they'll often resort to feeding on bits left over from, say, a giraffe or a elephant, even the baboons and monkeys, when they leave whatever's left. We're going to try open this one up now. We know it's ripe because not only has it fallen cleanly off the tree, but it actually has a really sweet smell. And while the black monkey orange turns orange when it's ripe, these ones are a little tastier, but it takes a little bit of force to open them up with this hard shell. So if we don't have a panga or machete to chop them open, we just give them a hard whack. There, we're getting it. Just like that. Now if I open it up there, you'll notice the flesh is like quite brown and mushy. Now inside this, you'll see it actually breaks apart into segments. Each segment has a rather big seed in it, and what we'll do is we'll just scoop into this, we'll eat it, and we just suck the flesh off the seed and then spit the seeds out, because the seeds still keep that poison. So we don't want to eat those. It looks very unappetizing, but I promise you, actually quite tasty. So if we just take a little bit less, I'm getting nice messy hands here. I'm gonna actually just use my hands here. Forgive that. This is a good one. So we take that little seed out, quite a small one, really, really sweet. And if I had to describe the taste, it's a bit of a combination. Sometimes they taste a bit like green apple, but mostly the closest I can get, it's like a very sweet yet tangy, soft, mushy texture. It's almost like a combination between mango and passion fruit or grenadilla. So it's a really, really cool, interesting taste. Sweet, but still a bit of a tang. Depending on the trees, you sometimes get ones that are a little bit more sour and some that are a little bit sweeter. And this one is very sweet. If we're out here on drive this time of year, it's always nice to find these ripe ones and pass it around the vehicle, and everyone gets a taste. Some people are a little put off by the texture and color, but I promise you, it is very delicious. I'll have another piece. This is breakfast. So what we'll do now is whatever we don't finish, we'll just throw out here. And any antelope coming past, those little red duikers, like I say, and impala and Ngala, Glenn is definitely going to have some. We have a few comments from the viewers. I have another one here that is also ripe. And since Glenn hasn't done too much driving out here in the north of Phinda, in these woodlands that have a lot of these, he's quite keen to try them. You will find them out in other areas, especially the black monkey orange. You can find it out even out into the low veldt. I've seen them in Kruger before, in that area. The green monkey orange is a little bit more restricted to the sort of KwaZulu-Natal region. And like I said, particularly here on the northern side of the reserve in these sandveld woodlands, it's actually one of the dominant tree species, one of the characteristic trees, which is why this time of year, as they're ripening, all the animals are here. The big herds of elephants will spend a majority of the time in these woodlands. We have a comment coming in from Deerwald saying that he prefers the black monkey orange. And Deerwald, that's entirely possible. But I'm pretty sure you need to spend more time in the north of Phinda with these ones, because these ones are delicious. The black monkey orange typically has like a more orange fruit, and it's not as mushy as these, but not nearly as sweet or juicy as these ones. So I'm going to save this piece for Glenn. This one, we know it's not ripe, so we'll throw it out. And the only thing that can still feed on that one, you'll sometimes see the elephants will eat the unripe ones just to sort of test how the tree is looking. They've got such a poor digestive system, it doesn't do much to them. But the only animals that really feed on the unripe ones are porcupines, really. But as we get back in the car and finish our snack for the morning, we are going to head over to Andrew in Juma and see what's going on over there.
So great, we'd managed to break that murine, the black monkey orange opened. So we still haven't found our lines yet, but now I'm going to be actually mixing, because I've been focusing on a line so much, and every time I know when I focus on one species, maybe I'll find another. So I'm going to pretend like I'm not looking for them. Maybe we'll eventually come across them. Now we're going to pretend like we're looking for baboons. You know, maybe we're looking for the elephants. Oh, elephants will be so good, because also it's Elephant Day, World Elephant Day today. So if I would find some of the elephants, that would be really great. A lot of a small road here. We can travel in and out. If it happens, it's something that is in this bush, one gonna miss it for sure. So I'm gonna carry on, hope I get lucky.
Across southern and East Africa, the Endangered Wildlife Trust works tirelessly to save species, protect critical habitats, and benefit people. Join the EWT in returning wildlife to the wild. Go to ewt.org.za to find out more and follow our socials to see how you can get involved. Protecting forever, together.
And I turned to Shaw and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. You know, either she was afraid that something had happened or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kudu, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Sean probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, two to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
I love being a cam op for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
So we're traveling east now, but we still got a line here, tracks that are leading our directions. This is probably the other member. Maybe this is the dark man that we got right here. The tracks moving straight east. So I'm gonna stick with them, the tracks. See how far these tracks lead us to. James Richard, so you're asking, since it's actually Elephant World Day, what is my experience with the elephant was? Actually, it's not actually bad experience with the elephant ever. I only remember that one drive that I had, we actually had a guest, and the guest wanted to see elephants close enough to the vehicles that it actually eventually it happened. When we found a herd of elephants, and they all came in around the car, because anyway we knew they would come directly straight to our vehicles as we stop on the road. So they're literally right to come in, and then eventually everybody said we were so quiet. And the good things about these guests, they so love the elephant. And then eventually we were all surrounded, and these elephants, they would rise their trunk right over us, everybody, so you could actually feel the oxygen in from their trunk. So that was my best elephant sighting. So that it was not actually annoying or a threat or being so scary, being close to the other elephants. So, and then since today, I never been so close to the elephant like that again. So it was memory for me. But I can tell you for sure, it was even warmer. I mean, we were so surprised that being close to the big animals, the temperature around these animals, it's even more than anywhere else. So it was a lot warmer there the minute we were surrounded. Okay, so the tracks that I have now here, it's a modern of them that move here. Let's see if we can keep up with them. In the meantime, let's go across to Wade with the bird.
Welcome back here on andBeyond Phinda. As we've been driving around, we've found a couple of really amazing little raptors sitting out enjoying the early morning sun. And if you can see them there, it's actually a pair. And these are kites. And these ones are the black-winged kite. The other one we can look to find in this region often is the yellow-billed kite. However, they are a migratory species, so they generally spend this winter time in the northern parts and sort of central parts of Africa, the intra-African migrants. The black-winged kite, however, is a species that can be found here year-round, and this looks like a pair. So I would, even though the males and females look very similar, they don't have any sort of distinctive markings to separate the genders, I would say that this would be a breeding pair. Kites in general are monogamous, but can sometimes be polyandrous as well. So this would most likely be a breeding pair, and they can often be found here out in these open grasslands. Of course, this time of year, this is not breeding season, so these two are just most likely enjoying each other's company for now. Once we get the summer rains again, we would probably see them starting to breed. But like most birds of prey, resting and roosting up in a tree through the night, in the early morning you see them move out onto the open branches and look to warm up and dry off the dew from during the night that would have fallen on them. And as it gets warm now, they would start hunting. And kites are really cool when you're watching them fly around, because they'll usually fly at sort of a medium height. And they'll swoop around an area and then actually hover in one spot once they think they've seen something. So it's always quite amazing to see this bird flapping away but sitting dead still. And if you watch them, the whole body moves, but the head is almost completely still, watching something on the ground. And the moment they see something, they literally just tuck their wings, dive down, and grab it. And they, being rather small raptors, would be hunting anything small. Little mice, rodents, lizards, even insects. Look at him hopping around there. Having a little stretch. Often see them preening at this time. Cleaning up the feathers and waterproofing them after all that dew that fell on them during the evening. The one on the left-hand side is facing away from us, head tucked down. Looks certainly like he's busy preening. And when he's doing that, what I mean by that is they actually use their beaks and they run it along each feather individually. And they have a little oil gland at the base of the bill, which they use that secretion to clean and essentially oil those feathers. And that preen oil helps to keep the feathers waterproofed and in good condition, so that if they have a bit of moisture on them after flying in rain or the dew, it doesn't waterlog the feathers and affect their ability to fly. You can see that distinctive black patch on the wing. They used to be called black-shouldered kites, but black-winged is a little bit more apt, considering that black spot is actually on the wing.
Just gone down into the grass.
Yeah. We have a comment from Tim stating that it's a gorgeous bird, and he is quite right. Look at that one flying around. It's just landed back on the tree. Although at the back there, they are really pretty and underrated birds. Out here, we can look to find quite a few of these birds of prey and raptors. From these kites to the tawny eagles at the edge of these woodlands and open areas. It's not uncommon to see the massive martial eagle, which is a really, really special one. One of the largest eagles here in South Africa, many, many times bigger than this little guy. But look at that dark eye and bill. Let's see what they do anything. If they do anything, I'm sure that they're going to, as it's now warmed up, fly around a bit and start hunting. We may leave them and carry on in our search.
So we're still searching. We lost the tracks now of the lines that we're following. So they cut off to the block. So we're still in the area. Just want to keep up with these tracks because we may miss them across these small roads here. And if we will miss that, then we will miss the sighting. It's gonna be that way. So I'm trying to make sure I don't miss much of these tracks, because this road is not actually very clear or bigger road. So it's easy to miss the tracks. And then there's been some of giraffe tracks here in the area. Maybe they've been hunting giraffe around here. We're not sure whether the giraffe just came while they already have walked past. We're only going to tell that if we see their tracks on the road. If there are tracks on top of the giraffe tracks, means maybe there would be much hunting on the giraffe around here.
So we are talking about a lot of poo today. This is a very fresh, or at least reasonably fresh, relatively fresh buffalo dung pat. Still very soft. It is quite warm already this morning, which means I think this isn't too old. Probably from very early this morning or very, very, very late last night. And these tracks of the buffalo over there are heading in that direction. And I don't know, this might even be a small buffalo track. It could be a very small herd of buffaloes or a number of bulls. I'm not 100% sure, but they seem to be walking straight up this road. That's what we said earlier this morning when we were walking. We have to be careful because we have been seeing buffaloes around Leopard Dam. We're actually heading away from Leopard Dam now. Seems like these buffaloes went all the way from the dam itself and are heading up in the direction of, I guess, Marshall Road, which also heads towards our eco-training camp eventually. These buffaloes might be trying to find the rest of that herd that has been hanging about there that we saw a few days ago. We have to keep our wits about us. It's not just buffaloes, there's also been a giraffe. There's a giraffe track over here, walking, which can sometimes confuse a person. The giraffe track is much larger and bullet-shaped, whereas a buffalo track like this one here is just round. It's been kind of half obscured. There's other large animals walking here as well. Anyways, hopefully we don't bump into them too closely without forewarning. We're walking very slowly and quietly and listening all the time to what might be ahead of us. These buffaloes could at any point have stopped and be feeding somewhere along this rocky ridge here that runs all the way east-west through the reserve. Lots of little hidden green grasses, like in there. Well, we're going to avoid danger as much as we can and keep making our way, following these buffaloes and then looping back around to the car. But Trishala is ready to say hi.
Hi everyone, hi indeed. We're here in Cape Town again and we're in Blauberg this time. You can hear the wonderful ocean, you can see Table Mountain in the background. Isn't it just a beautiful? Just take that in for a moment. Just stunning. Well, if you didn't know, it's me, Trishala, and I've got Chandra on camera with me. And like I said, we're here in Blauberg, and we're kind of just looking around, seeing what great stuff we can find for you. So far, it's been pretty fantastic. I mean, just that view is stunning. In fact, all around us, there is a beautiful, beautiful view. We've got some vegetation down on the other side. These wonderful rocks, no rock pools here, but still some lovely rocks. And we can talk a little bit about the geology of, well, Table Mountain in a bit. lots of sea foam. That's a really good sign because that means that there's a lot of nutrients in this water. Oh, hello. I should probably take my shoes out, shouldn't I? Yes, I should. I'm going to, actually. So the sea foam, just while we're here, because it's just wonderful to talk about, you can see that there's little bits, kind of looks like a little bit of sponge. And I remember when I was little, people used to call it scum, because they thought that it was a terrible thing when the sea foam came up to the shore. But in fact, it's so nutrient rich. It's full of amino acids, it's full of fats, some alcohols, all of those really good things that the ocean needs. In fact, speaking of that, there's also lots of kelp that you may see that we'll get to it. It's scattered along. It's kelp that has been uprooted or hold-fasted and come to shore. And they have a mucus on it that assists in creating the sea foam. So it's a really good thing if you're at the beach and you see sea foam. We're going to have a nice little view of what it's like around us. You can see some shallow dunes, maybe some birds in the sky. It's a beautiful day, which we actually didn't expect because we thought it was going to be rainy. It did rain, but luckily for now it's cleared up. Really, really lovely. Now all this vegetation will be coastal dune vegetation, although you do get a lot of flowers in this area, and you might see, or we were hoping to see patches of flowers as we walked through, but nothing so far. But if we do see some gorgeous flowers, because you know that time is upon us, mid-August to mid-September is when you're going to get really, really this explosion of blooms all around in this area, well, in Cape Town in general, but especially in this area and then going up a little bit further north. So, how about we talk about and have a look at the Great Table Mountain and just talk a little bit about it. So, we know it's an iconic mountain, and there's something so comforting about the permanence of a mountain. It's always there, you can always rely on it, and it seems so static, but in fact, mountains are not exactly static. Over millions and millions of years, they build up to something great like this, something not even, it cannot even have to be something very tall or very big, but mountains take millions of years to form, and so did Table Mountain. So here we have Table Mountain, we have Chapman's Peak, and the other one is on the left. Devil's Peak. I knew there were two peaks. So Devil's Peak on the left, Table Mountain, the flat one, obviously, and then Chapman's Peak is the peak on the right. So millions of years ago, about 300 million, well, let's start a little bit further back, about 500 million years ago, that's when all the upwelling was happening in the magma. So all of this is actually shale initially, and then magma from the bottom underneath it came and extruded upwards to create what we now have as the geology of the coast. So when magma extrudes and it cools on the surface, it becomes, or just underneath it, it becomes granite, and that's what we see with these granitic boulders on the beach. But Table Mountain is not. So Table Mountain was once underneath the ocean, and it actually had been kind of like a delta. And so all the sand sediment washed up, and as the continents were moving, it compressed. And when sand compresses, it forms sandstone. So the sandstone group, or Table Mountain group as it's now known. And the flat top is as a result of glacial action that would have caused that bit at the top to be really, really, really flat. Isn't that cool? Anyway, I'm going to go off and look for other really interesting things to share with you, and I'm going to send you over to someone else.
Yes, my views are possibly not as scenic or as dramatic as Table Mountain, that's for sure. And we see the head of impala. I Our sea of impala, definitely not dramatic or as tall or as scenic, but they've all come down to the dam cam area, which is wonderful. And of course, they have no idea that we are watching them. If you're there in the vehicle, they're very aware of the vehicles. They're obviously very aware of people on foot, of course, but naturally, sitting behind a dam cam, the advantage that you have there, although it's nothing like being out there, is that these organisms have no idea that they're being watched. Think about that. It's quite a unique perception to think of it through. And they are being watched. We're all watching them right now. My goodness, there's so many of them. And I touched on this earlier, but vegetation around a water body does hold on to moisture and water in the environment the longest. And that's why it is said to be the most nutritious, and especially in winter will attract lots of different organisms. Wasn't supposed to happen. Elton, I'm ready for some questions. Being on dam cam, you need the questions. Hit me with them. I'm ready. Cameron, I mean, that is a very, very broad topic, very broad question. I mean, the word animals, I think people forget, covers everything from your flatworms in the ocean to the little crabs in the rock pools, like Trishala was mentioning, to the birds, to the impala, to the insects. Animals is everything. And not all animals will be active 24 hours a day. You'll have your diurnal animals, which will have a completely different behavioral pattern to your nocturnal animals. Then you get your crepuscular animals, which are active mostly at sunrise and sunset. So I think your question is not entirely possible to answer across the board. It depends on what organism you're looking at, the habitat they're in, and when their active periods are sort of prime. So for diurnal animals, they will just be wakening up in the morning, just like we do. They'll stretch, they'll yawn, they'll groom, then they'll check if the area is safe, then they'll look for food. Exactly what we do, I guess. We stretch, we yawn, we have a shower, then we head for breakfast. If you're a nocturnal animal, you're obviously going to be sleeping most of the day or resting or hiding in burrows or in the shade. And then, of course, you're going to become active once that sun is going down. And that's when you will stretch and yawn and then look for food. So no, not all animals are active during the day. It really depends what animal you are. But if you're a diurnal animal, then yes, the morning is a prime time, especially for birds. You do get nocturnal birds, of course, but most birds are diurnal. And they're going to start their dawn chorus, their territorial calls. Wake up, sing, stretch the wings, have a preen, get ready to find food. So it really does depend, Cameron. Okay, from my herd of impala, we are going to send you across to Mike with a herd of buffalo.
For the morning on the side of this rocky outcrop. A few of them are still feeding, but about 2 or 3 of them are lying down. Goodness, apparently, well, I can't speak any louder, unfortunately. And I've checked my lapel. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Sorry, everyone, if you can't hear me. This should be okay. A whole bunch of oxpeckers have just landed on this buffalo. Just give them some sort of comfort, because that's an extra warning system. So we have to be a little bit more aware. We can't disturb disturb them or get too close, because if we disturb them, the oxpacks will fly up, and that will warn all the buffaloes that we are here. Just want to have a look at this closest buffalo. I can't tell if it's a male or a female. Doesn't look like it has a very big boss, to be honest. No, it's a male for sure. She does have an incredibly big boss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 5 buffaloes. No young ones in the group, so it's definitely a group of bulls. I wonder where Tungsten is these days. Tungsten's with them, maybe. It's a good place for the buffalo. Nice and high up. It's a good vantage for any... Oh, you see 6. Apparently there's 6 buffaloes there. So our security Evo's got some eagle eyes, and he sees one more buffalo that I can't see. Is it with them? Okay, it's a bit further away. Okay, that's good. Sorry if you can hear other things. There's a airplane flying over at the moment, which is very loud, unfortunately. Seems not to disturb the buffalo, which is good. Terrifying if they decided to come charging towards us. We haven't got a whole lot of cover where we are. There's a few fallen trees behind us that we could use. I know. It's going to be a very hot day today. I think the temperature might rise to about 35 degrees Celsius, which is just under 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So these buffaloes are going to eat now whilst it's cool, and as soon as it starts to warm up, these buffaloes will do exactly as they're doing now. In fact, they're probably already doing this. They're not going to move much further from this. Perhaps if it gets very warm, they'll wander down to Leopard Dam, which is not far in a straight line, probably just 600 meters or so in a straight line. Have a drink and maybe lie with their bodies half in the water to keep cool. So plenty of buffalo around on Pridelands at the moment. Just making up for our paucity of elephants. And our tracking partner Morris this morning has also found 2 male lions. So we'll probably go this afternoon to try and see if we can find those 2 male lions. But what we're going to do now is make our way around these buffalo, keeping a bit of a distance, keeping the wind and the sun as much as possible on our side, so that we can avoid any sort of confrontation.
Here at the Advanced Rifle Handling Challenge, which is actually lots of challenges in one to gauge the contestants' skills at different distances and different speeds. This is probably the challenge that the contestants are the most nervous about. So let's get them locked and loaded. Competitors are now doing the Hades halt, where they have to run back and forth to a target, turn, take aim, and shoot. And this simulates a chase in a real environment and gets the heart pumping and the blood pressure up. James gave us a demonstration, and the skill involved in this exercise is remarkable.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Good morning and welcome back here. We have finally been successful after a couple of hours of searching, and we've managed to find the Pride of Lions again. And they had moved quite a bit during the night, and we found them right in the woodlands, maybe quite a bit north of where we saw them yesterday. And look at that male, putting his head up there, looking around. It just goes to show, when you're out here in the bush, you never know what's going to happen. Yesterday we managed to find them with relative ease. Oh, there he gets up. Look at that big belly from his meal yesterday. There's one lioness laying just there by that tree behind him. He's walking right past her. We did see another lioness shifting around a bit, and he goes down. One of the lionesses moved off further to the left, and we haven't seen the other one, but interesting to see that there's that lioness laying, and she's laying at quite a funny angle. She's literally laying against the tree. Looks like she's got her paws propped against it. Now, it's interesting to note the dynamic again with these lions, because this male that we're seeing over here, this is that larger maned male that we'd seen with the lioness yesterday. He's still with the lionesses. The other male moved a significant amount last night, and I can actually show you guys here on the map. Always cool to see on the map where we are, where we're going, what we're doing. And if you can see me over here, here we have the map of Phinda. Now we've been moving around this northern part. Let me get something to point with. Over here. So if we look at this map, let me just try and set it still. This number 5 over here, this little waterhole, this is where we had them yesterday afternoon. And they were all around here on the ridge by this waterhole. Right now, we are over here in these woodland areas, right at the edge of the open grassland. The other male, so they've already moved quite a bit. The other male was actually found this morning down here. So he had walked past from here all the way past Forest Lodge out, and they first found him in this open area here, and he crossed into some thickets, and they lost him over there. Amazing to see how much distance he covered, because this straight line is, she's an easy 7-8 kilometers that he traveled just overnight, and they can sometimes do double or even triple that. It really is an amazing thing to see. And again, interesting to note that that male left the pride, but the other one, which is more dominant and we suspect is still very interested in that one lioness, he has stayed here. They've shifted a little. We're going to try and reposition now and get another view of him and maybe one or two of the other lionesses. Why don't we head across to Cape Town and see what Tswalu is up to there?
We have spotted some feathery friends. None other than the kelp gull. We see them quite often, obviously, all around this area, and they're huge. When you first see them, I was surprised that there was a gull that size when I first ever saw a kelp gull, but they are very, very large. You can see that there's 2 adults and there's 1 juvenile there that's a little bit browner. They're almost a kg each, an adult. So, like I said, pretty big, easily recognizable because of that size, and they have quite a robust beak. they're very entertaining to watch as well, because they're often eating crustaceans and mollusks and fish and things like that, so you see them hunting, and they have lots of interesting behavior when they do that. Apart from just being entertaining and there being lots of squabbling between the birds, you'll often see them pick up maybe sea snails, little crustaceans, things like that, and then drop it on rocks, try and crack the shells of those animals. So it's very, very nice to watch them. And you'll often see them when other animals are present, like when penguins are around, etc. You'll see them also trying to kind of scavenge and steal a bit of food too. Now we had a question from Leopard Lover. Hi Leopard Lover, good morning from Cape Town. You'd like to know what's my favorite seaside spot? How does one pick a favorite seaside spot? They're all so beautiful, although I must say that when we were at Misty Cliffs yesterday with all those dunes, that was top-notch for me. I love the fact that we could have different types of vegetation, different types of sort of, we have the ocean, and then we also have the genreing, all around me. There's the ocean, and there's also the stream. So that I think was my favorite seaside spot, although there were no rocky bits. So when there's rocky bits, I like that too. And we had some amazing rock pools at Cozy Bay, which is where we were a couple days ago. You remember how I always tell you at camp at Juma how it all kind of leaks into one day? It's starting to happen here too. I can't remember where we've been on each one of those days, but I think that's, as long as it's rocky, it's got beach, sand, and some dunes with some vegetation, I'm happy. So happy. Well, we had Critter Freak had a comment, but I can't remember what it was at the moment. It was how beautiful the scenery was. Thanks, Critter Freak. I also think it's beautiful scenery, which is why we're here. We can have this wonderful view of Cape Town from this side. Really, really nice. So there's a whole lot of things that have been washed up. I want to have a look at a nice bit of kelp, if we can. I see there's one there. It's fairly dried up. But there is one behind us. Let me show you. Here it is. Chandra and I dancing. Don't step on the kelp, don't step on the kelp. Well done. Here we go. So this is actually a fairly small, these kelp, so this is Echolonia maxiba, also called sea bamboo. It's the most common kelp that we get around here. The other one is a Laminara species, but we don't see too much of it. It looks a little bit different as well. So this is just a meter, just over a meter, and the kelp can normally get up to this one, up to about 30 meters, so it can get quite large indeed. But there's interesting things here. Obviously this is dead, so I can touch it. I'm not going to damage it or anything. You can also touch it when it's alive, obviously. So this lovely head of hair here are called the fronds of the kelp. And remember I was telling you about the mucus that kind of lines the kelp and assists in the creation of that sea foam. You'd find that along the fronds, and that's why they can be quite, if you see them underwater, they're very, very, very flowy. So these are the fronds, and you can actually see if it's a very old or if it's new, if it's got this. So because it's quite young, it's still got this arrow bit at the top of the stipe. So the stipe is this bit down here. Some people call it a stalk. The technical term is a stipe. So this is hollow. It's filled with gas. So I can press down on it like this. It's filled with mostly, well, basically just like air. A bit of nitrogen, a bit of carbon dioxide, a bit of oxygen. And that helps it to stay upright in the water, because this means that this is always floating. And you can see that the biggest part, the biggest gas-filled chamber is up here. I say chamber, but this is one continuous chamber. But the largest part of it is at the top, which means that it can float. Now the other part that's very important for kelp as I shuffle down, is this bit here. This is called a hold fast. So it holds very firmly to any kind of substrate that the kelp needs to anchor onto. It's not a root. So a root, a tree root or plant root has two functions. One, of course, to help structure the plant and to give it some integrity and keep it upright. But the second thing is to absorb nutrients. So this doesn't do that. This doesn't absorb any nutrients or assist in absorbing any nutrients. This is just to hold on and anchor the kelp. And it does photosynthesize, but it is not a plant. It is a type of algae. And I quite love kelp. It's an abundant place for so much biodiversity.
So we sitting here looking at the beautiful lilac-breasted roller, just to look and see how the true color of him, just showing such a magnificent, beautiful since we're not coming right with the lines, so we try and spend time with anything we can come across. So that maybe later on we may come right with the lines. But this bird, it's one of the beautiful one out here, where it's got about 7 different color. All that color is there. The lilac, slightly grayish on the top of the head, the forehead. And the wings is pretty much browny. But mixed with these metallic bluish, it's such a beautiful bird. We're hunting for such insect around here. From that height, you can see clearly from the ground to the ground any insect that may moving about. Small beetles. Wouldn't be much of them this time of year, but insects, some of them are still around.
And we're back here at andBeyond Phinda, and it just keeps on getting better. We repositioned around the Pride, and we've managed to find one of the lion cubs. Really, really exciting stuff. I did mention it yesterday, but while we had seen previously 3 of the lionesses, we didn't see all of them. And during the night, the Pride had obviously rejoined, and we have one of the cubs right in front of us. A little bit to the right, there's 2 lionesses laying there quite comfortably, taking a nice relaxed morning. And further to the right of them as well, there's another lioness currently sitting up. Really tough to see because she's sitting in the thickets. It's there's a lot of sickle bush and other shrub and thicket species here. It's really tough to see her on the screen, but so cool that they've rejoined. And this little cub here that's laying down but still watching us, look at that. They are quite young still and really, really cute. This is one of 3, like I said, and it's tough to see which one it is, if it's a male or a female. But they are still relatively young. I think at the moment now they are about 9 months old, I'd say, give or take a month. And yeah, really nice to see. It's been quite an interesting dynamic that we've seen in the Pride. Their mom is the oldest lioness in the Pride and sort of the alpha female here. She's always the clear leader whenever she's part of the Pride, and she always has been very much part of the Pride. However, with this newest batch of cubs, when she split off to den with them, the Pride would come through and visit every now and then, but when she started moving with the cubs, she didn't rejoin the Pride straight away, and she actually sort of would do her own thing, rejoining every now and then. There seems to be no animosity or any signs that they're going to stay, permanently separated. She just seems less inclined to spend a lot of time with them. And for quite a few months, they were hardly seen together. More and more these days, we're seeing them together as these cubs have gotten older and bolder. So really nice to see that they've rejoined this morning. And from what I can see here, they're all scattered lying behind us, but we have one lioness behind us and at least 3-4 lionesses in front of us. We have a comment coming in from Horse Lover and saying just how cute this little cub is. And you are very right there. Although, while it's admirable being a horse lover, I don't think these lions would feel, or they would just as they'd be just as loving of the horses. Probably not in the same way that we do as people. I think they would see it far much more as a meal. But these guys tend to stick to zebras. We're a little short on horses out here in the wild. Cub is really relaxed there, laying. You can just see the ears twitching. You can actually see some of the flies buzzing around there. And a quick twitch of the ear helps to just chase them off. Sometimes you see them get quite irritated to the point that they start shaking their heads and even jump up and run around a little bit. But I have not seen the other cubs yet. I have a feeling that they're behind this one. Oh, look, puts its head up. I have a feeling that they're in the thicket behind there. As this one's put its head up, have a look at the neck area. Still very young, but we can now quite clearly see a bit of longer fur on the neck and the shoulders there. Now, we were chatting a little bit about it yesterday, and chatting about when lions grow their manes. This over here, we can see quite clearly now, is actually a young male. Even though not even a year old yet, already got a bit of that longer fur around the bottom of the chin, the sides of the face, and on the shoulders. So this is definitely one of the young males here. Compared to the female, those females won't have any of that. And that mane will take a good 4 years at least to grow out, but for now they'll just look like scraggly teenagers. We'll continue watching them and see what else happens here.
The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, encourages people to care for the earth. Through innovative projects, they aim to reverse the serious issues that we face in the world today. One of these projects is Green Coast, a proudly South African award for sensitive and well-managed coastal sites. This sustainability project protects our national coastlines while providing unemployed youth with a love for their environment and a hope for the future. WESA is a membership and volunteer-supported organisation. Every supporter is helping to change the only Earth we have. Visit our website to see how you can help care for our Earth.
We got there, he had probably moved a couple of 100 meters down the river and was about 10 meters from this causeway. So I radioed the lodge quickly and just asked them to bring a land cruiser around and some tow straps. So we thought we were going to try be heroes and save this giraffe. And now a big bull, probably over a ton. He's a big unit. Got the tow strap one side of the giraffe and managed to get it around him with the boat, and the other edge of the tow strap obviously back onto the bank. So we made this U around him because he was lying quite close to the bank. And yeah, we put that land cruiser in low range and we just gave it hell and pulled that giraffe, and the tow strap slipped up and we thought, oh no, it's going to slip off the top of the head, and it caught on his ossicones at the top. And that last 10 meters pulled him out onto the bank, and he battled. He was obviously quite weak and all that.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
Nine. How beautiful is this wave action? Being at the sea is so calming. Obviously. Can you see how calm I am now? I'm in Cape Town. Anyway, we collected a couple cool things along the way as we were walking about. And we have a selection of mussels here. Let's start actually with the smallest one. So here we have a ribbed mussel. I'm just going to turn it around. You can see it's got really beautiful color. It's a little bit darker when it's not dead and washed up on the beach. And you can see that it's got these obvious ribs on it. Now this is a South African mussel, but it often gets outcompeted by this, the European, the Mediterranean mussel. So this is the mussel. It's an invasive species in many areas, and it's a mussel that you would usually find if you go to a restaurant and you order mussels. And then this one here is a type of horse mussel, most likely a scaly horse mussel. Really nice and big. They can get very large, say 39, 40 centimeters. This one is only about 17, I'd say. And what mussels do, if we talk about the biology of a mussel a little bit, is if you imagine that firstly they need to anchor onto something. Also they're bivalves, and it's easy to tell it's a bivalve because bivalve is also a mollusk. So a mollusk like a snail, but a snail is a gastropod mollusk. This is a bivalve. There's two bits to their body that's attached with a hinge, like a door, right? So that's why bivalve. And they anchor themselves, I'll just use the smaller one to help us show how they anchor themselves, into the sand like that, much deeper, with just the top exposed and a little bit open. Now they're filter feeders, so it means that they catch a lot of lots of sediment. Actually not sediment, but all the zooplankton and things like that that's moving about in the ocean that can look like sediment, because sediment would imply that it's non-edible things that are floating around in the ocean. So they filter feed, and then they can actually purify a lot of water. So especially freshwater mussels, these are not. These are all marine mussels. Freshwater mussels can really purify water, and it's really good if we get to find lots of it in a particular area, because it means that the water quality is fairly nice. Oh, we have a little rainbow. There we go, everyone. A little rainbow for you this morning. I've seen so many rainbows since I've been here. Obviously, I'm sure you know what a rainbow, how it forms and why it's only there when there has to be sunlight and there has to be water particles in the air, particularly rain or like light rain. And the way that the particles split the sunshine is what creates that beautiful rainbow. Very, very nice.
Good morning and welcome back here. We've moved around just a little bit here on andBeyond Phinda with these lions, and we've got one of the lionesses. Really nice little view of her face. She's looking back at where that cub was that we saw. That cub is still over there, but laying quite flat in the grass. And we still haven't seen the other two cubs, but I can be relatively certain that they're in that little thicket over there. And you can see, even though they've moved quite a bit since we saw them yesterday, I don't think the lionesses have eaten again since. There was a good meal on that Ngala that they killed yesterday afternoon. The male is still very full. We can see that belly. We saw it just now. But the lionesses managed to get some, so I don't think they're too stressed for food right now. Normally a big meal will last them a good 2-3 days. But even a little meal like this will tide them over for a day or two. Look at her just looking around. Quite pretty with those little yellow flowers in front of her face. It's a little bush called a curry bush that we find in this area. It gives a very distinctive curry smell in the early mornings and late evenings. Interesting how they've moved out here. The movements would have been dictated by the females themselves. And this one male has just tagged along. He's still sitting with that same lioness that we saw yesterday. So it's going to be really cool to watch what happens over the next few days. But we have had a wonderful morning. It's been a long morning. We've seen a lot, and it took us quite a while to find these lions. But ultimately we were successful, and we had a really great time doing it. It's been a wonderful, wonderful morning, and I hope you guys have enjoyed your unique wild safari live. We'll see you this afternoon for another version of WildEarth's live safaris coming to you from the African wild.